Hello crafties, welcome to another tutorial. My name is Infinity and I am so proud to present our channel's first make along, sort of, so to speak, make along slash design along really. Throughout the tutorial you'll see me reflecting and reevaluating my decisions throughout the entire pattern, but for the most part it's very much the tutorial, very much the demonstration. And if you enjoy this content or look forward to more things like this, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and check out our coffee page for more updates or to just drop us a coffee. Thanks again and enjoy the tutorial. And hello crafties, welcome back to another tutorial. My name is Infinity and today I am going to be starting a little mystery project with you guys. It's something that I just recently designed and I felt like it'd be a cool little beginner tutorial to do since we're just starting off with beginner based techniques, and I'm super excited to share this with you guys. So without further ado, we'll get started. For today's tutorial you'll need 3 colors of yarn. As usual, I am using a Red Heart Super Saver brand yarn. I am using the cherry red, I'm using turquoise blue, and just the regular white. Now if you want to use the off-white or some variant of these colors, basically red, white, and blue would do, but these specific colors would be great for this pattern. So yarn aside, you'll also need your hook, and today I am bringing back my trusty H-sized hook, which is a I think size 8 USA. It's a 5mm hook, my favorite size of hook, and also my favorite hook. I thought I lost that thing one time. And of course, your scissors so you can change your colors and snip. This project is in perfect timing because, as you all may know, we just finished off the tutorial for changing color. So for today's tutorial, we will be pretty much using half double crochets the whole time. So we're going to start off, let's move our other yarn aside for a moment. We are going to start with the turquoise yarn, and we are going to start with a slip knot, and I am just going to expertly put that on my hook right now. If you are unfamiliar with these terms, I recommend going back to earlier tutorials so that I can better assist you, or you can find another tutorial that better suits your learning style. So for this pattern, I will be chaining an odd number of chains because we're going to be doing what's called intarsia, or basically you're putting a design inside of a swatch, kind of. I can explain it better visually than verbally. So I'm going to chain 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So also for today's tutorial, this is just part 1 of this mystery make-along, so don't worry, we'll be doing this in stages. Also, I want to mention, like, if you have stitch markers like I do right here, you might want to have a few on hand just because we will be doing intarsia and you're going to want to keep count of your stitches for the first part. So I'm just going to leave these here in my space. For this first row, I want to do half double crochets as promised. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook into that third stitch from my hook. So not this one, but this one. Right? Just going to yarn over and insert my hook, pull up a loop, pull through 3. And I am going to do this all the way across, and I will meet you back when I get to the end of this row. Also, I want to mention before we before we move on to those next 6 rows, I want to mention that you need to chain 2. That is the height of our half double crochets, so I am chaining 2 and turning my work. Alright, so now I'm back and I have finished my first row of half double crochets. You should have 33 stitches by the end of your row, and we can sit back and count them. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. We do not count this little 2 chains as a stitch for this design, so you have 33 stitches, which is great because for this pattern, like I said, you're going to need that odd number of stitches. What I am going to do now is use my stitch markers to mark my place. For this pattern, I have decided that I am going to need 23 stitches for my pattern to work out and still have enough negative space for bordering around my design. So what I'm going to do is count out 5 stitches from either end, and I'm going to simply place a stitch marker there just to remind me, hey, this is a stopping point for your design, and to change color at that point. So I'm just going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can either put it at the bottom of this, or I find it better to put it like maybe around the chain. You might not want to use a blue on blue stitch marker, but this is the random color that I grabbed out of my tin, so I'm stuck with it. It's like a Twitter blue, I call it. Also, I'm going to do it at the other end and use a different color stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And around that 5th stitch, I'm just going to hook my stitch marker around there like so and secure it. And so now I have my stopping points for the design. So the design is basically going to fit in this little block, and we're going to have these stitches, including the ones where the stitch markers are, as kind of a bordering thing. So now, oops, hit my printer. Now we are going to move on, and I want to do about 6 more rows of just solid half double crochets with this color, and then I will meet you back for the 7th row. Right? Alright, crafties, I am at the end of row 7, and I am just going to do my last 2 stitches right here. And you're gonna notice, you've heard me talk about tutorials in the past tutorials, how your project may start V'ing out. Well, in this case, it's V'ing in, and I'm just gonna let you know it's a result of my tension right now, and also my hook. The gauge for this yarn, which I haven't gotten a gauge yet, but the gauge for this yarn is typically 5 millimeters. This particular one is quite stretchy, so all that means is later on I'm just gonna have to block this swatch when we get to that point, but otherwise no big deal. So now what I'm going to do, now that I've reached the end of row 7, I'm going to go back here to my stitch markers, and I am going to actually change them out. A little bit more on that veering in of the swatch. Also, when you don't count that turning chain as a stitch, you don't go into it, so it kind of acts like you're missing a stitch, but you're really not. So I'm just going to count in from either end the 5 stitches that I had down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go into that 5th one. Just neatly put my stitch marker around it. It helps my eyes adjust to the project better. And now I have a nice bright stitch marker there in place of that blue one. And I'm going to move my other one as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it wants to go in there. Alright, move these out the way. So now we're going to move into row 8. So what I'm going to do here is insert my hook back into my project, first of all. And then I'm going to chain 2. So 1, 2, right? And I'm going to turn my work. So now it's on the back side. I have established the back side, and you'll notice in your project when you're working on it, one side might look prettier than the other, honestly. And to me, this side looks a little rough. So this is my back side. Now I am going to yarn over and going to half double crochet into the next 5 stitches, not counting this base one. So 1, 2. I did a double crochet. No. Half doubles, guys, half doubles. Start over. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 3. Sometimes I have to remind myself because everybody makes mistakes, but that's okay. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook. That's the fun part of crocheting, learning and making those mistakes and learning from those mistakes. It's kind of like life. So now I have my 5 half double crochets. Well, I'm going to have 5 half double crochets. You see I went into the top of this 5th stitch, and I have yet to complete my half double crochet, but that is because I plan on changing colors right now. So what we're going to do is grab our white yarn from the mystery corner, and we are going to create that loop between our thumb and our index finger, kind of reiterating how to change these colors. And we are going to insert our hook in that loop and pull it through our project to complete that half double crochet. And just kind of, I like to tug on the tail a little bit, just to make sure that I have enough of a tail where I can like see it at the end. And then we're going to pull down our blue yarn, make sure that our stitch is nice and secure. Now I'm going to notice that I'm going to leave this white tail in front of my project and my old blue tail at the back of the project. If you watched the last tutorial about color changing, you'll know why I do that. But overall, it just makes it look neater in my opinion. You don't have all that showing through. I won't be going through that this tutorial. Now I'm just going to continue on with my half double crochets. So 1, oops. We have 23 stitches to work in, so 2, 3, for the next 20 stitches. So we're going to have 20 white half double crochets. And we have 3 of them so far. Yarn over, insert my hook, do our 4th one, 5th one, and 6th one. And you notice that I am also not snipping my blue yarn because we are going to go back to it after we get done with our white stitches. Just bear with me here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
12. I'm just taking a pause here to look at it and think about my math. That is something that you constantly have to do with crocheting, is reevaluate your math, especially if you're designing a project. And I realized that I said 20 half double crochets. 20. We're 12. I'm gonna do 13 actually. It helps to double check so much. It's better to double check and correct yourself than to have to rip back an entire project. So we're gonna go into that 13 stitch with our white yarn, and now I'm not gonna complete that, but I am going to snip my yarn. I'm just gonna leave myself a decent amount of tail here, and I'm just gonna snip that off like so and lay my white yarn to the side. Now what I like to do, this is another trick, when I change back to my original color, I put my yarn over it, over the old string or the new string, before I start back using that old color. Now this not only secures it in a way, but it also kind of tucks it away and makes it look neater on the front side, so you have that nice clean transition. And now we're going to yarn over, and we are going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more half double crochets until we get to the stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to finish out the row in this color with half double crochets. I'll meet you back at the beginning of row 9. So we have finished row 8 and we are going to do row 9. So I'm just going to chain 2, 1, 2, and turn my work. Now we are working at the front side of our project. And what I am going to do now is yarn over. I'm not going into the base of this chain 2, but the next one. And I am going to half double crochet all the way to these, like right before these white stitches. So it's about 10 stitches. And 10. So I'm not going to complete that half double crochet, but I am going to change my color back to white yet again, making that loop between my index finger and my thumb, and inserting my hook, adjusting my tension, and pulling it through to complete my half double crochet. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out that tail just a little bit more, just so I have enough to cover the length of this little white swatch. And I'm just going to go on top of all of those white stitches from the previous row. So make sure my white yarn is at my front and my blue yarn is at my back, nice and snug. And I'm just going to yarn over and continue on as normal until I get to the end of these white stitches. I'm going to pause the video and I will meet you back when we get there. I am at the end of my white stitches yet again. So now what I'm going to do to go into this last white stitch, I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. I'm going to drop my white strings and pull up my blue one. I am going to make sure that this white strand goes over that blue strand back to the back of the project. And I am going to reconnect my blue yarn and pull that loose white tail so it's nice and snug and neat. And now I'm going to continue on and do the last few stitches of the row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so now, and you'll notice me pulling at it. Later on, I'm going to block this project so that you don't have to pull at it. That is the wonder of blocking, which if you don't know what that is, blocking is just pinning it down into the shape that you want it to, getting it a little damp, or if you have a cloth and a mini steam iron, you can do that as well. But it basically shapes your project for you. You'll see a lot of people do that with sweaters and things like that. So now for row 10, we are going to chain 2, 2, and we are going to do 5 half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, and now what we're going to do to move on to row 10 is yarn over, yarn over, chain 2. We're going to turn our work, and we are now back at the back side. And if you again watch the last tutorial, you'll know that I am forever forgetting to cut off my yarn until I actually need it or need to, or it becomes a problem. So bear with me on that one. What we're going to do now is yarn over, and we're going to go into the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to yarn over and pull up our loop, but we're changing color again. We're going back to our white. So I'm just going to connect that here, pull through those 3 loops. White strand to the front, blue strand to the back, and I am ready to go across these next 13 stitches. So I'm going to do that now. I think this is fun, doing a sort of design in progress sort of thing as we crochet along together. And then this way you guys get to kind of see, you know, the pros and cons of designing stuff or trying to make things with your own patterns. As sometimes you write stuff up and it seems perfect, but by the time you get around to actually doing the work, it works out totally different, and you have to improvise a little bit, as I have had to do during this video. So it's just a good kind of vicarious experience. So insert and yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. Now I'm going to finish this half double crochet in white because I'm going to need this white for just a few more stitches. So after I finish that 13th stitch, what I'm going to do is go over, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, and 4 more times. Now I'm not going to finish that fourth one. What I'm going to do now is change back to my blue. So of course that means I'm putting my white strands over that blue strand, pulling up that blue strand and wrapping my hook around it to complete my half double crochet. So just finished that. And now for the last stitches of the row, I am going to just half double crochet. So alright, and so now we have finished that row. I'm just going to count my rows again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've just finished row 10, and we are going to move on to row 11. So I'm going to chain 2 and snip my yarn because I'm going to forget yet again, and I am going to turn my work. So now we're kind of, getting far along in our little project. I'm still going to break this down into a multi-part thing, so you have a couple weeks to kind of play the guessing game. I have no idea what we're making. I know what we're making, but, I like playing guessing games. So we're going to yarn over and going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 stitches here. Wait, do I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I have 5. Okay, we're good. So, in instances like that where you're like, oh crap, I'm missing a stitch, and little patterns like this where you are building negative space around your design, this is kind of your area of forgiveness right here. So say if I was missing one of those stitches, I could actually add another stitch in the middle somewhere inconspicuous that would make it shape up correctly and make it look like the other side. So just going to yarn over. We're going to do our half double crochets all the way up until that white stitch. So yarn over, and for that last one we are not going to complete that stitch with the blue. We are going to complete it with white. So we're just going to pick it up again, make that loop, and connect the yarn. Now some people can connect the yarn without, doing it with their tension, but that's not me. So forgive any snags that you might witness tonight. I am going to make sure I'm not working with my tail because I just almost did. And I'm going to have my blue yarn to the back, my white yarn to the front, and I'm just going to cinch down that stitch, make it look nice and neat. And I am going to yarn over and do my first stitch. Yarn over and do my second stitch, but I'm not gonna complete it. I am changing colors on you guys again. So sorry. So I'm going to simply lay my white yarn over to the back and bring my blue yarn up to the front. Cinch that down, yarn over, pull up, and complete that stitch. And I am going to do the next 2 stitches in blue. So 1 and 2. I'm not going to finish that. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to cut my white strand and move away my little scraps. And I am now going to reconnect my white yarn. So the reason I didn't like just weave in the white yarn with this blue yarn is because it would have been totally visible on the correct side of the project, and you never want that, or at least I don't want that to show through. You want these connections to be as seamless as possible. So now I am going to yarn over and go into the next 13 stitches with my white yarn. Again, making sure that my blue string is to the back and my white string is to the front. And I'm just going to do that real quick, and I will meet back up with you when I get to the end of the white stitches. Alright, and so now I have reached the end of my white stitches, and I'm just going to reconnect with my blue yarn right here. And I'm going to finish off this row in half double crochets in blue. And now that I've reached the end of this row, I am going to chain 2 and turn my work. Now you might notice this interesting collection of loose ends at the back. You'll sew them in later. Some of them are already woven in, and it might take a skilled eye to see which ones are woven in and which ones are not, so you're better off just like sewing them all in and using your fray check at the end of the project though. So we are going to yarn over and do the next few stitches in blue. We're just going to do a stitch count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my stitches did this to me. I have 4 stitches here. Yeah, so I'm going to show you right now how to compensate for that. So we're not necessarily going into the base of this chain. I mean, you could do it that way. It would cause it to veer out. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to go into the next stitch. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch, but I'm going to put 2 half double crochets here. And so now I have 3 half double crochets in this row so far. And so by the time that I finish and get to the white stitches, I will have 5 half double crochets. Now, you could just block it that way, but I prefer to have my stitches there so it doesn't create any odd gaps in my project later, but that's just me. So at this point, we are going to connect our white yarn again. So I'm just going to grab that real quick and connect it. Connect it and leave my blue yarn to the back and my white yarn to the front. Make sure that I'm working with my working yarn and not my tail. Like, that is such a common mistake. I've done that in larger projects, and it is no fun having to rip stuff back because those few stitches just mean so much. Just gonna yarn over, and we're gonna start working these white stitches all the way up to this last one right here before we change off again. So I've connected my yarn, and what we're going to do now is do 5 half double crochets into each of the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm not going to finish that one. Now what I am going to do is grab my red yarn. Woohoo, finally getting a little bit of change. And I just love how it pops. It's called Cherry Red. It's by Red Heart yet again. And I'm just going to connect that here. And I'm going to pull that white down and make sure it is nice and secure. And what's going to happen here is once I've connected my red yarn, I am going to take my scissors and I am going to be snipping my blue yarn, but I'm going to be leaving a reasonable amount of tail here just so I can sew it in later. And I do this because there's no smooth way to weave in 3 different ends at one time and make it look okay. There's just not. So I'm going to pull back that hanging tail of the white yarn, and now what we're going to do is leave the red yarn, the red tail, to the front. We're going to leave the white yarn to the back, and we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, okay, and we're going to drop that red working yarn because that's the only stitch that is red on this row. And I'm going to yarn over with my white, reconnecting my white to my project and securing it down. And we're going to bring that red to the back before we continue on with this row. So now I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook, and we are back to white. So much fun, right? Yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, and that was a double crochet. We're doing half double crochets. Again, it's so easy to do that with both these stitches and the treble stitches. If you don't pay attention, you're gonna mess up. All right, we're getting to the end here, so I am gonna snip this red yarn and put that to the side for now. And I'm going to yarn over with my white, insert my hook. Not going to complete that because I'm going back to my blue. Reconnecting it like so. Putting my white to the back. And now I'm putting my blue to the front. This is the first time that we have cut our blue yarn in this project, which can be a little disorienting for some, but you know, such as patterns. And we're gonna yarn over, insert our hook. We're not gonna complete that stitch. We are instead gonna pick up our white yarn, move our blue yarn to the back like so, and we're gonna pick up with the white yarn. And we're going to do the next 2 stitches. Not going to complete that, but I am going to cut my blue yarn yet again because I need to reconnect it. And I'm going to complete this row in turquoise. Moving that white yarn out of my way. Huh. There we go. Trying to weave in that little guy so I don't have to weave him in later, but I probably will weave him in later just for that added security. Four and five. All right, and that brings us to the end of today's segment. Thank you for tuning in. I will continue on with this pattern another day, but drop a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Try to guess what we're making here, and I will see you guys again later. Happy making, crafties.
Alright, crafties, thank you for tuning in with me today. I hope you enjoyed crocheting along with me. This is the first time that I've tried something like this, so just hit me up in the comments or in the private messages and let me know what you'd like to see more of. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. That would help me out a lot. Go on over and check out the Ko-fi page, and happy making.